In 1910, the average American homesteader maintained a list of 200 plants that made them completely independent from every store, every pharmacy, and every government supply line. By 1920, that list had been officially removed from every agricultural bulletin in America. Not because the plants stopped working, because the plants worked too well. Today I found the original list, and number 4 on it is growing in your yard right now. Welcome to USA Grows. The archive opens in the American Midwest and Great Plains, circa 1910. The Homestead Act had pushed hundreds of thousands of families onto undeveloped land. To survive, they could not rely on supply lines that did not yet exist. They built their own homes. They grew their own food. And they maintained what historians now call household pharmacopoeias, personal medicine lists of 200 or more wild plants. These were not primitive remedies. They were sophisticated systems of knowledge, passed down through generations, tested by experience, and proven by results. A 1910 homestead family spent less than 15% of their income on food. Today, the average American family spends over 60%. That is not progress. That is dependency. And the shift did not happen by accident. In 1914, the United States Congress passed the Smith-Lever Act. It created the Cooperative Extension Service, a partnership between the USDA and land-grant universities. County agents were dispatched to every rural community in America. Their stated mission was to apply research and teach new agricultural methods. But the unstated mission was something else entirely. The Extension Service systematically replaced traditional knowledge with commercial farming. Homesteaders who had saved seeds for generations were told to buy hybrid varieties. Families who made their own medicines from Yarrow, Plantain, and Elderberry were given pamphlets recommending patent drugs. The local knowledge that had kept families alive for centuries was reframed as backward, inefficient, and unsafe. And the official USDA Farmers' Bulletins from 1900 to 1910, which had contained detailed wild food and medicine guides, were quietly discontinued or rewritten by 1920. Now let us look at what was removed, because this is where the suppression becomes undeniable. Plantain, Plantago major, was in every homesteader's first aid kit. The leaves, when chewed or crushed, draw out splinters, soothe insect stings, and stop bleeding. Poultices made from plantain treat infections and speed wound healing. By 1920, plantain had vanished from official USDA bulletins. Mullein, Verbascum thapsus, was the homesteader's lung medicine. A tea made from the leaves breaks up congestion and calms coughs. The flowers, infused in oil, treat ear infections. Mullein grows in every disturbed soil across America. It is free. It works. It was erased from federal guidance by 1920. Yarrow, Achillea millefolium, was the most versatile healing plant on the list. Used by every homesteader, yarrow alone treated infection, fever, and bleeding. The leaves, applied directly to a wound, stop hemorrhaging within minutes. A tea made from the flowers reduces fever. Chewing the root relieves toothache pain. Yarrow is so effective that its genus name, Achillea, comes from the Greek hero Achilles, who supposedly used it to stop the bleeding of his soldiers. By 1925, yarrow was removed from every official USDA guide. Elderberry Sambucus canadensis was the winter medicine chest. The berries are packed with antiviral compounds that clinical studies now confirm reduce the duration and severity of influenza. The flowers break fevers. The bark induces sweating. A homesteader with elderberry in the yard never feared winter illness. The USDA bulletin stopped mentioning it by 1920. Black walnut Juglans nigra was the homesteader's antifungal and antiparasitic. The hulls, ground into a powder, treat ringworm, athlete's foot, and intestinal parasites. The green hulls produce a brown iodine-rich tincture that disinfects wounds. Black walnut disappeared from federal guidance by 1920. Here is the question nobody in the USDA wants to answer. If these plants are effective enough that homesteaders relied on them for generations, why were they removed from official bulletins? The answer is simple, brutal, and reveals everything. The Smith-Lebo Act of 1914 did more than create the Extension Service. It created a pipeline. The same land-grant universities that trained county agents were receiving funding from the emerging pharmaceutical, seed, and chemical industries. A family that grows their own medicine does not buy patent drugs. A farmer who saves his own seed does not buy hybrid varieties. A homesteader who treats his own livestock with yarrow and black walnut does not buy veterinary pharmaceuticals. The plants had to be removed from the official record because they competed with products that generated revenue. The USDA Farmers Bulletin series, which had been a treasure trove of practical homestead knowledge, was systematically scrubbed. The 1915 Bulletin on Drug Plants Under Cultivation, revised in 1920 and again in later years, shifted its focus from home medicine to commercial production. The message was clear. You can still grow medicinal plants, but only if you sell them to the industry. Do not use them yourself. Do not teach your neighbors. Do not save your own seeds. Here is what they did not tell you. The 1910 homesteaders were not primitive. They were 400% more self-sufficient than modern Americans. They knew that a handful of yarrow leaves could stop a bleeding wound faster than any store-bought bandage. They knew that Mullein tea relieved a cough better than any syrup. They knew that Plantain poultice drew out infection that antibiotics now struggle to treat. And they knew these things not because they read a study, but because they tested them on their own bodies, on their own children, on their own livestock. The knowledge was empirical. It was verified, and it worked. Now, let me tell you about the plants that survived in the bulletins. The USDA did not remove every wild plant. They kept the ones that were difficult to harvest, unpleasant to use, or impossible to scale. Dandelion stayed, but only as a weed control bulletin, not as food. Prickly pear stayed, but as a forage for cattle, not as medicine. The plants that were easy, pleasant, and effective were deleted. The plants that reinforced dependency remained. That is not science. That is censorship. Today, the original 1910 homesteader pharmacopoeia is still recoverable. It lives in old extension bulletins from before 1914, in the archives of land-grant libraries, and in the memories of rural families who never stopped using the plants their grandparents taught them. Yarrow still grows in every meadow. Plantain still grows in every lawn. Mullein still grows in every disturbed roadside. Elderberry still produces its purple fruit every August. Black walnut still drops its green hulls every September. The plants never left. Only the official permission to use them was withdrawn. The Cooperative Extension Service grew from a small, rural program into a national infrastructure that reshaped American agriculture. By the 1950s, it had become the primary channel for disseminating chemical-dependent farming methods. The home economics programs taught women to buy processed foods. The 4-H programs taught children to raise hybrid livestock. The county agents taught farmers to measure success by yield per acre, not by independence. The system worked exactly as designed. It replaced household production with market purchases. It replaced local knowledge with institutional expertise. It replaced freedom with dependency. But the original knowledge is not lost. The 1910 homesteaders left us a blueprint. The plants they used are still here. The methods they perfected are still valid. And the only thing standing between you and that level of self-sufficiency is the belief that you need permission. You do not. You need a field guide. You need a patch of soil. And you need to remember that for thousands of years, humans thrived without the USDA, without the pharmaceutical industry, and without a single patent on a single seed. Number 4 on the original list was yarrow. Look for its feathery leaves and flat white flower heads. It is growing in your yard right now. Pick a leaf, chew it, apply it to a cut. Watch it work. And then ask yourself why no one ever told you. If this story opened something for you, subscribe to USA Grows and hit the bell. Every like and every share helps preserve this wisdom. The next story opens soon.